Good morning, everybody. This is Steve Fletcher with a trumpet for my people. Today is Sunday, May 24th, and I'm very excited to be able to share a piece of information with you. I have been resting peacefully with my family and just here in Yucatan, Mexico, enjoying the summer and the blessing of a new pool at the Bridge of Love home. It's just been a wonderful time. There's been a lot of work that we're doing with the children and with the land, and just enjoying. We're occupying our time until the Lord is going to be coming for us, and I'm so thankful that I have been, waiting. I've been waiting to be able to share more information with you. I have been resting, as I said, resting peacefully on what has already been shared. And Pentecost is such a huge deal as far as all the information that we could share. I mean, if we went into all the information and all the videos that have been done on Pentecost and all the significant meanings and symbology and typologies that are within the Feast of Pentecost, I mean, there's so much information. Easily, we could do a video of 5 or 7 or 10 hours of information just about the Feast of Pentecost and everything that means, going all the way back to Mount Sinai and the first Pentecost and the dispensation of the law and then the dispensation of the Holy Spirit. There's so much there. There's so much. But I want to share some pieces of information with you that are just really amazing. And I like to see this as some finishing touches on information that is very trustworthy and very solid, and really just bringing us to the time of our departure, which right now we are looking at Pentecost within a week, but it could be earlier, it could be before next Sunday. And I mean, we're right here. This is the time, okay? This is the time, and I'm just so excited to be able to share with you. And I've been waiting. I've been waiting every day, just asking the Lord, what is it that you would like me to share with your people? Is there anything else? What more can I do? And I've just had this rest that there wasn't anything more needed. I don't know. I just, I wasn't searching. I wasn't looking for more information. I was just waiting on the Lord. I was praying, trusting the Lord that if there's anything else that He wants me to share, that He would bring me the information in His time. And so this piece of information that I want to share right now, that was brought to me by Brother Daniel Taylor, and an amazing graphic right here, amazing graphic. So when Daniel sent this, Brother Daniel sent this to me, I'm like, wow, that is an amazing piece of information that I need to share. And then as I began looking at this, there are a few other things that I put together that I want to bring to everyone's attention, and just let you know where we are, what we are watching, why Pentecost is definitely by far the most important rapture watch time we have ever had. I mean, this seems to be bringing us to the culmination of all the signs and the final dispensation that will begin on Pentecost, which is the reign of the Antichrist and the Great Tribulation. the final dispensation of this world. It's the time of the end. The time of the end. It's the appointed time. So this is the information that was sent to me by Brother Daniel. Daniel, interesting, right? His name is Daniel, in the book of Daniel. Daniel 12:4 says, "But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased." So the interesting thing here is that, remember in Matthew chapter 24, Jesus told us, when you see the abomination of desolation according to the prophet Daniel. Okay, so he tells us to look in the book of Daniel. So Daniel is a key, or the key end time prophet, giving us the information about the timeline of Messiah's return. Daniel gave us a timeline. 70 weeks are determined. Okay? So Daniel is God's man. He's the prophet of the end times. He told us to go look in the book of Daniel for understanding. He who reads, let him understand, right? And then it says, even to the time of the end. So what was put together here is that Daniel, in the Hebrew Strong's, is number 1840. God is my judge. 1840. And when it says time of the end, what it means is appointed time. That is the number 2165, which means appointed time. Time of the end, the appointed time. So when you put these two numbers together, Daniel and appointed time, and you add them together, 1840 plus 2165, you get 4005. And Strong's number 4005 is Pentecost, the 50th day. The appointed time of Daniel, Pentecost. This is so amazing, this addition, as if we needed more information. Because Daniel's prophecy is all about the weeks, the 70 weeks that are determined. And Pentecost is the Feast of Weeks. But this adds even more weight to that information. The appointed time of Daniel is Pentecost. It goes on to say in the same chapter, that was Daniel 12:4. Now if we go on in Daniel 12:11 and 12, it says, "From the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that make desolate is set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Blessed is he that waiteth, and cometh to the 1,330 days." So Daniel, like I said, gives us this timeline. After the abomination, there's 1,290 days. And then it says, blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to the 1,330 days. So we have shared this information with you, that the covenant with many, based on 62 years after the order to restore Jerusalem from 1947, plus 62 brings us to 2009. the year of the covenant of the Antichrist. 3.5 years later, 1,260 days, the abomination, Barack Obama in the sanctuary fortress, which is the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem, the holy place, the birthplace of Jesus Christ. And when we add 1,290 days to that, it brings us to the Feast of Trumpets. 2016, Barack Obama was again back in Israel for the funeral of Shimon Peres. And adding from the Feast of Trumpets 2016, it's 1,335 days to Pentecost, May 30th. This is the day of Pentecost in Israel, May 30th, 2020. So it's the abomination plus 1,290 days plus blessed is he who waits and comes to the 1,305 and 30 days. Now, take a good look at this information. October 3rd, 2016, Feast of Trumpets. Feast of Trumpets within the timeline of Barack Obama's Nobel Peace Prize, the abomination, and then the Feast of Trumpets 2016 is 7 years from the covenant with many. Look what happened on October 3rd, 2016, how this fits in. Okay, this is the revealing of the Antichrist. The revealing of the Antichrist. What happened on October 3rd, 2016 as another piece of confirmation about the revealing of the Antichrist? Look at this. This was October 3rd, 2016. This report came out on Fox News. October 3rd, 2016. Obama said, the Republican voters think I'm the Antichrist. When this originally came out, I shared with you how Jesus went to his disciples and he asked them, who do you think I am? And they answered, well, the people think this. Some of them think that you're Elijah. Some of them think that you're the great prophet. No, but who do you think I am? Who do you think I am? Okay? So Jesus did not come out and say, yes, I am the Son of God. He did not come out and say it that way in that moment. But he said, who do you think I am? And so this was a play on words, and the way Obama said this, Obama said, Republican voters think that I'm the Antichrist. This was the Feast of Trumpets. Okay? So for anybody watching, okay, where it's the Feast of Trumpets, what is going to happen? What could be the message today? Feast of Trumpets. Is there something that God wants us to see? And this is why we need to be watching, especially God's appointed times, God's feast days, God's Moedim, and these times that have been set apart by God. Okay? These times that are placed within God's calendar because they give us information and they give us signs. So the day of trumpets. And Obama says the Republicans think I'm the Antichrist. Okay? This was on October 3rd, 2016. This is the exact timeline of the covenant with many, the abomination, the Feast of Trumpets, and then from the Feast of Trumpets we add 1,335 days to bring us to true Pentecost in Israel. Okay? When Pentecost had fully come, when the day of Pentecost had fully come, where were the disciples? They were in Jerusalem. Where is the clock of God. What is God's clock? God's clock is Israel. God's clock is Jerusalem. This is what matters. All of these things that happen within this timeline are on God's calendar. We've got the Feast of Tabernacles. We've got Nisan 10 and 11, which is the triumphal entry and the cleansing of the temple. We've got the Feast of Trumpets, and we've got the Feast of Pentecost. And everything is according to the Hebrew calendar. Okay? Just like all the blood moons were according to the Hebrew calendar, just like Comet Isan was according to the Hebrew calendar, just like the Revelation 12 sign was according to the Hebrew calendar, just like the Great American Eclipse was 40 days before the Day of Atonement, according to the Hebrew calendar. All of the heavenly signs are confirmed by the Hebrew calendar. Okay? And this is the weight that is being placed upon next weekend, according to the Hebrew calendar, true Pentecost. So on October 3rd, 2016, Barack Obama said, Republican voters think I'm the Antichrist. And here we have the fulfillment of the true 70 weeks of Daniel. Because the prophecy of Daniel and the 70 weeks, the first clue that is more than obvious is that within the prophecy of Daniel, the word weeks is used, and this is the Feast of Weeks, Shavuot, Pentecost, the Feast of Weeks. 70 weeks are determined. Okay? So let us take a look at the 70 weeks of Israel and how this would apply to 2020. Okay, we know that Israel was reborn on May 14th, 1948. But they did not yet have a government. Okay? Then, in 1949, they established their government, but we can see here two details within 1949. On May 11th, Israel is admitted to the United Nations as its 59th member, but on July 20th, Israel and Syria sign a truce to end their 19-month war. Okay? Shavuot in 1949 was June 2nd. 1949, June 2nd. Okay? But if we go to the information in 1949, they did not sign a truce to end the 19-month war until July 20th, which means they were still at war. Israel was still at war. So 1948, Israel was reborn, but they did not have a government. 1949, they formed a government, but they were still at war. So their first free Pentecost, their first Shavuot, in a time of peace with a newly established nation, was 1950. 1950. And this brings us to the law of return. The time of peace within Israel where people can now return to the land and receive once again citizenship as Israelis. The law of return is an Israeli law passed on July 5th, 1950, which gives Jews the right to come and live in Israel and gain Israeli citizenship. And every Jew has the right to come to this country as an immigrant. In the law of return, the state of Israel gave effect to the Zionist movement's creed, which called for the establishment of Israel as a Jewish state. 1950 was Israel's first Pentecost as a free and as a peaceful nation. In a time of peace. There was no war. They were fully established. They had a functioning government. The first time was 1950. And this brings us to 2020 as the 70th week of Daniel. The 120, the sign of 120, 2020, 70 years from 1950, and look at all the information. Now, what I want to share with you, as like I said, this is by far, this is a long way from an exhaustive study on Pentecost and everything. There's so much information about Pentecost. But I want to share with you some pieces of information that will help us understand that every dispensation throughout history has always been established on Pentecost. Every dispensation. Every time there's a change of dispensation, it's been at Pentecost. Now, before I even get into this information, I was watching a video by Steve Ciccolianti. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. I think it's Ciccoliante. And he said that Adam was born on the 6th day. Now that is interesting because and this is the comment that he made about Adam, is that there's no feast day that has a 6th day. There's no Passover unleavened bread is from the 14th to the 22nd. We've got the Feast of Trumpets, and we've got the Day of Atonement. That's the 1st and the 10th day. Tabernacles goes from 15 to 22 in the month of Tishri. And there is no holiday that has a 6th day, except Sivan 3, which is the 6th day of the 3rd month. The 6th day of the 3rd month. He said there's a possibility that Adam was created on Pentecost. I found that detail very interesting, and although I don't think we know the day that Adam was created. But he was created on the 6th day, and Pentecost is the 6th day of Sivan, or it fluctuates. It actually fluctuates from 5, 6, 7 Sivan, somewhere in there. But what I want to share with you here, Pentecost, Shavuot, look at every dispensation from the beginning of time, how it all changed at Pentecost. The covenant of God with Noah was given at Pentecost. God's covenant that he made with Noah was given to him at Pentecost. When he said, I have chosen you, my spirit will not contend with man forever. His days will be 120 years, but God found favor with Noah. And that is when God called Noah to begin building the ark on the Feast of Pentecost, which had not yet been established. Okay? Then you have the situation of Enoch being born on Pentecost and being raptured on Pentecost. And Enoch is a symbol of the raptured bride of Christ, connecting us to Pentecost and the rapture of the church on Pentecost. Now there's two situations with Moses, because Moses was rescued from the Nile River when he was put in a basket. Okay? He was put in a basket. He was saved from the Egyptian slaughter of the babies on the 6th of Sivan. This is an amazing piece of information. Moses was saved. The rescue of Moses took place on Pentecost. It goes on in the life of Moses that the law was given on the Feast of Pentecost. And God gave a covenant to Israel on the 6th day of the 3rd month, the Feast of Pentecost. David was born and died on the Feast of Pentecost. See how this is all lining up with every dispensation. The dispensation of Noah, the dispensation of Moses and the law, the dispensation of the kings of Israel as another dispensation. Because one dispensation was Moses and the law and God leading his children out of Egypt through the desert into the promised land. And then we had the timing of the judges, but then we had a new dispensation that began with the kings of Israel. And David was the first king. And so this again lines up with another dispensation that was confirmed by the birth and the death of David on the Feast of Pentecost. And we have the coming of the Spirit, which was on the Feast of Pentecost. And the sign for us between Enoch being born and raptured on the day of Pentecost and King David being born and dying on the Feast of Pentecost is a sign for us of the birth and the end and the consummation of the church age on the day of Pentecost. Enoch's birth, Enoch's death. David's birth, David's death. The birth of the church and the restrainer being removed, the consummation of the church age on the day of Pentecost. The coming of the Spirit, the same day that the Spirit came, the Spirit will be removed. There's so much information pointing us to Pentecost. And right now we are within 1 week, if we even make it to the 31st of May. In Israel, Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks, Pentecost is May 28th through May 30th. In the world, in the Christian church, everywhere in the world, Pentecost is May 31st. Okay? So our calendar lines up with Israel's calendar, and within the 28th to the 31st of May, the whole world is celebrating Pentecost. This all lines up perfectly with all the signs that we've been given throughout the years, how everything lines up with the Hebrew calendar. Where is Pentecost on the Hebrew calendar? It lines up with the timeline of Daniel and the covenant with many from Barack Obama all the way to 2009. The covenant with many, 1260, 1290, 1335. The blessed day, 1335. Now that is an amazing detail. Now if you go forward another week, many are watching June 6th and June 7th. But that does not line up with the 1335 days of Daniel, nor does it line up with Pentecost being truly celebrated in the world on June 6th and June 7th. There are signs on June 3rd and June 6th, June 7th, and there are signs going beyond. There's a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse in the month of June. But I don't see why we have to make it to there when everything is pointing us to Pentecost between May 28th and May 31st. Habakkuk chapter 2. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. At the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. The vision is yet for an appointed time. The appointed time of Daniel is Pentecost. See how amazing that piece of information is? Once again, I want to thank my brother Daniel for this amazing graphic. And I think that, as it says, at the end it shall speak. The vision is yet for an appointed time. At the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. When the time has come, when we have reached full consummation, it will come. The appointed time will come. Everything says Pentecost 2020 is the appointed time. Wait for it. I pray you're blessed today. This is Steve Fletcher with a trumpet for my people, the sign of his coming revealed.